Hi guys, thanks for joining us again on the channel. So, there's a reason I haven't talked about this one until now. It's not because I didn't want to talk about it, but because I needed to get it right. And now the wait's over. But before we get into that, don't forget to check this exclusive discount for it. You can find the link in both the video description and the top comment below. Now let's not waste any more time and jump right into the details. Let's begin by examining the insights provided by our first reviewer.
This reviewer was very surprised with the performance of this mesh system. Our reviewer lives in an older house with dense walls and even tin ceilings, which made their previous Wi-Fi setup a real struggle. They were using a standard router on one floor and a range extender on another, but the performance was sluggish at best. On the patio, speeds were often so slow they'd just use their phone as a hotspot. In the living room, a gaming console connected to the extender would take forever to download updates, and the upstairs bedroom had similar issues with gaming and streaming devices. This new Wi-Fi setup was a complete game changer. The initial installation had a small hiccup and needed a second try, but it was straightforward after that. Each unit only has a couple of Ethernet ports, so our reviewer did have to pick up some inexpensive extra switches for their wired devices, but that wasn't a major issue. The whole configuration is handled through a smartphone app, which guided them through setting up the first node and then seamlessly adding the second one to the network. Speaking of the app, that was one of the few downsides. It seems like you absolutely need a smartphone to configure everything. The web browser interface is basically just a status screen with no real controls. This client also missed having the advanced, user-controlled options that their old equipment offered, as the system handles most of the network management automatically. Despite those minor gripes, the results were phenomenal. The signal strength throughout the house improved dramatically. The patio went from being almost unusable to getting strong, stable speeds. The living room saw a massive jump in performance, and downloads that used to take ages are now incredibly fast. Every device connected to this new network without a problem and saw a huge boost, making this a fantastic and worthwhile upgrade.
Opening things up, our first reviewer gives us their take.
This reviewer begins by expressing sheer amazement at the speed increase offered by this mesh system, noting that when paired with a capable computer and a high-speed internet plan, the performance is a genuine game changer. However, this initial excitement was soon tempered by the setup and management experience, which our reviewer found to be deeply flawed. The entire setup process is locked into a smartphone app. While connecting the second mesh unit was surprisingly easy, the overall process was far from intuitive. This client found the instructions unclear, particularly regarding the proper sequence for connecting the modem and the phone. The reliance on the app became a major point of frustration, as finding specific settings felt like a treasure hunt. For instance, locating the option to create a guest network was unnecessarily difficult. Furthermore, a feature to isolate smart home devices was hidden behind an unexplained acronym, forcing the user to guess its meaning. Another significant disappointment was the lack of clear documentation. Our reviewer searched for an online manual to understand all the system's possibilities, such as whether using a wired connection for backhaul was optimal, but found nothing comprehensive. This was compounded by physical hardware limitations, as the main unit offers only 3 network ports. After connecting the modem and a network switch, there was only 1 port left, which was insufficient for this user's needs, which include a NAS storage system and other hardwired devices. Ultimately, the main complaint is aimed at the lousy documentation and the poorly designed app interface, which prioritizes promotional fluff over functional clarity. This client feels that without their professional background in computer hardware, they would have been completely lost, likely ending up on hold with customer service.
Excellent. Let's find out what our next reviewer has to share about their experience.
This reviewer has been using this mesh Wi-Fi system for a few months now and has a somewhat ambivalent opinion. Our reviewer utilizes 2 of these units primarily as a bridge to a PC connected via LAN, while also leveraging their capabilities as wireless access points. On the positive side, this client noted the impressive bandwidth, especially when it comes to local network file transfers. They also found that, when quality of service (QoS) features are disabled, the system does a decent job of distributing internet bandwidth. The initial setup and ongoing management are highlights, and the reviewer feels that complaints regarding the limited nature of network management options are excessive. Basic functionalities like hiding networks, filtering access, assigning IP addresses, and configuring port forwarding rules are all present. The ability to manage the network through a smartphone app is also considered a particularly handy feature. However, there are some considerable drawbacks. The most significant issue arises when the system is used as a router. It struggles mightily to recover from power outages, disconnections, or even simply moving one of the units. This client recounts spending hours troubleshooting after relocating a unit, eventually resorting to factory resetting the main unit and rebuilding the network from scratch. Apparently, a very specific and time-consuming reset procedure is needed to bring it back online. The reviewer emphasizes that this appears to be a problem only when used in router mode. As access points, the system might be ideal. However, frequent power interruptions could make this a frustrating experience. The client also found that using CoS to prioritize devices actually seemed to restrict overall bandwidth allocation. Even the highest priority device appeared to receive only a portion of the total download capacity, although this client is on a gigabit connection, and a slice of 300-400 Mbps might be sufficient for most users.
Appreciate you watching. If this video helped, like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts below. See you soon.